IDC what anyone says, revenge cheating was necessary. So this happened quite a while ago, I'd say about 4 years. My then boyfriend, M23, was verbally abusive and he was a player in his own head. My dumbass at the time thought he was faithful because he said all the pretty lies to my face and hid his shady shit. For instance, he would constantly be going out of town with his friends and end up at a strip clubs, bars, and with prostitutes, but he would say that all of this was for his friends and he had no interest. At the same time, when he would call me, he would make sure I'm at home, not doing anything. If I were to go out, he would force me to send photos of whom I'm with, where we are at, etc., etc. Obviously, he has trust issues, but I did trust him like an idiot. Later on in the relationship, I'd say like 1 year in, I noticed how we didn't talk as often as before and the intimacy was as frequent, which then made me question him, and it turns out I don't turn him on as much as I used to because I gained like 15 pounds. So he decided to go and cheat on me with someone he knew, and then proceeded to tell me all of this just to say why he can get a hard-on and it was my fault for being fat and not pleasing him. Enough. That's when I broke off and decided duck it's revenge time. I got my body down 30 pounds and toned myself, then made sure he saw me in public with my banging body and fresh outfit. I knew where he worked, so I just went there around his quitting time, and he followed me and caught up to me and explained how sorry and stupid he acted a month before and he wanted me back. Of course I said okay, because now the trap is set. My BF has a really attractive friend whom I was looking to duck, and to my luck we all met up that same night. Right in front of my unsuspecting boyfriend, I started to get frisky and play around with his friend. Then when I rubbed my foot into his crotch under the table, I think my BF noticed. So he pulled me aside and started yelling at me how much of a slut I am and yada yada. No matter, I returned to the table unfazed, kissed his friend deeply and passionately in front of him, leaving him shocked and dumbfounded. Then I took his friend by the hand and walked to get a cab for ourselves to go enjoy the rest of that night. My ex followed us and kept trying to convince his friend not to go. While we were waiting for the cab, I turned to my ex and straight up told him that it's his fault for not noticing what a catch I was, and since he was too busy plowing other women for his own amusement, there shouldn't be a problem. He can carry on, and I reminded him that his friend is way more handsome than he and he just lost it about to attack his friend, but we got in the cab before anything could go down. I later on had intimacy with him and it was fun. And who comes crawling to my apartment after a week of no contact? My dear ex. So I let him in, and we drink, and he gets all caught up in our past, how great things were. Except they weren't. For me. So I made out with him a bit, gave him some blue balls, and when he asked if we are together, I told him to leave and understand he has lost all of me. It was nice to see him so down since he's a very confident, borderline cocky person. In the end, I feel much better. I had revenge intimacy. And till this day he tries to write to me and keep a connection. Down boy. Be a good bitch. In short, boyfriend cheated on me and was abusive. Said I was too fat to get him turned on anymore, so he cheated, thus leading me to lose the weight, get sexy and plan a revenge plot on fucking his best friend, then ultimately having him beg me to get me back. Then kicking him out and leaving him and his pride pussy whipped. Story 2. My ex tried to cheat. It didn't work out for him though. After some time my ex would sleep with his phone in his pocket. Weird red flag, but I never said anything. When I noticed he wouldn't even pull up his phone in front of me, I knew something was up. One night it slipped out of his sweats and I woke up with it near my legs. I was just going to put it on the charger honestly, but I saw he had a bunch of notifications and messages from a dating app. Man, I wanted to slap him awake. But I didn't. So I created a profile using a friend of mine's pictures that he never met, and I had her approval. She was his type 100%, and I knew he loved blue eyes. So when we matched like I knew we would, we got to chatting. We talked for about a week before I suggested meeting up. Flirting, sexual stuff. He told me that he was single and lived with a friend. So I suggested him paying for a hotel room so we could FCK. He said he would. We picked a spot. Mind you, I paid for everything because he was unemployed after losing his job. He drained my savings account over the year with manipulation. We're family. We take care of each other when we're in tough spots, He would say whenever I told him I didn't have extra money. I paid my student loans, all bills of a one-bedroom, and the food. This boy had the ballsack to ask me for money in person. That his mom's B-day was coming up and he wanted to buy her something nice. So I gave him $50, just because it was hilarious at this point. I still think about the smile on his face in that moment. That weekend he left. Said he was going to his mom's and that he'd probably stay the night. I kissed him goodbye and told him to have a great time. Then I packed all of his stuff and left it outside. I live in a US city, so it went fast. Got the locks changed. He messaged me a few times on the app. I told him I was running late because I wanted to look perfect, but I was coming and so sorry. My friend also sent me some sexy pictures to send him that didn't fully include her face. She's a real one. I even talked him into jerking off and sending me a video. Then after making him sit until about 1 a.m., I messaged him on the dating app a picture of his belongings being rummaged through by a homeless man, and to enjoy his stay in a hotel. As soon as my phone rang, I blocked his number and went to bed. He was outside of my door the Monday I came home from work, ugly, crying, begging, telling me he was homeless and had nowhere to go. When I wasn't having it, he got angry per usual. Once he started grabbing and trying to get into my apartment, I called the police. Filed a restraining order because he did threaten my life and my pets. For putting him out. Found out he ended up moving a few hours away where his only family is and has a job. Hopefully he learned something. Story 3. Cheated on while pregnant. So my ex-fiancé, M26, cheated on me when I was about 6 months pregnant, F27. I worked as a restaurant manager and took a week off from work to fly out to Europe. That's where I grew up. To see my family for the first time since the pregnancy, before it was too late to fly. When I got back home, there was a facial scrub in my shower that didn't belong to me. I freaked out. I asked for answers. He lies. Complete denial, thinks I'm an idiot. He goes, I don't know how that ended up here, maybe it's yours. I was livid. Cried all day at work that day. Asked again at night, and he starts yelling at me about how I don't trust him. Don't forget I'm pregnant as duck here and he's putting this on me. Baffling, I then try to let it go. I decided to stop thinking about it and focus on my pregnancy. I know he cheated, but he won't admit it, so I'm just wasting my time trying to argue. Fast forward to 1 month postpartum. I get in a car accident, wasn't at fault, no injuries. But my car gets totaled. Great, so now I'm faced with a big decision. Do I want to drop thousands on a new car or do I want to leave him and move back to Europe with our son? Somehow owning a car made me feel attached to the US. I don't know why it did, but it was sort of a big commitment. I sat him down and said, I'm not going to spend thousands on a vehicle if you can't admit that you had unprotected with some girl in our home. I'd much rather sell all my stuff and leave. His jaw dropped, he thought I'd let it go and he was off the hook. But he admitted to cheating. FYI, I had a fragile cervix during pregnancy, which caused heavy bleeding during intercourse, had to go to the ER twice, and had horrible nausea the entire time. So yeah, intimacy drive wasn't the best, but I still tried. He's my first child, I wasn't going to risk an early labor for some dick. Just jerk off for a bit, don't duck someone in our home. 3 months later, I fly back home and I've been a happy single mother ever since. Best decision I ever made. I'm really proud of myself for leaving. I don't think I deserve to be with someone who would betray me in such a horrible way. I think cheating in your home is 10 times worse. Yes, he is the father of my child and I won't come between them. But I'm glad I left him. He gave me the most beautiful gift anyone has ever given me, but he lost all of my respect after that.